We on? Hello, friends. Hi, everybody. Pardon the interruption. Um, hi, my name's Dan Malthrop. I'm with the City Club, I'm Chief Executive there, and thank you all so much for coming today. This is just a little informal welcome. I just want to thank all of you for being a part of this, and I want to ask you to join me in thanking our friends at the St. Luke's Foundation for sponsoring this series about health inequities and social determinants of health and the things that we can all do as a community to solve some of these problems. Please join me in thanking the St. Luke's Foundation. Um, a little bit of housekeeping right now, if we could. All of you, I think, probably have a phone with you. If you could do me a favor, make sure that phone is silent. That would be fantastic. There's one or two of you right now who are sure that your phone is on silent. Um, and let me just ask you to check it just to be sure. Um, because we are going to be live streaming, we're recording this. We've got a live radio broadcast thanks to our very good friends at WOVU 95.9 FM Community Radio, and we want to make sure that your phone doesn't go off in the middle of this. Um, Also, I wanted to note that there are in the second half of the program, there's a couple of ways that you can get a question in. We've got a microphone over here, and we'll have a line there. But if you have a question and you're more of the kind of I've got a question, but I don't want to ask it myself kind of person, and I relate, um, you can text your question, and the I think it's in the program. Is the text number in the program? If it's not, I'm going to tell it to you right now. It's 330-541-5794. And I'm making a note to myself that this should definitely be in the program next time. It's in there? Okay. All right. It's on the back. Oh, yeah. How to ask a question. There it is. 330-541-5794. So, and you can try Twitter too. But the text message is really the best way to get the question in. And then we do ask, because so that we can get to as many questions as possible, we ask that you keep your questions brief and to the point, and they should be questions, just, questions rather than like stories about your own life, as interesting as that might be. Thank you in advance. Um, I want to ask you also to join me in thanking a few of our community partners today. We're blessed to have a number of partner organizations who have helped us spread the word, who have demonstrated their interest in tonight's program. So I'm gonna list them all and ask you to give me a huge round of applause and join me in thanking them. The Greater Cleveland Food Bank, Black Environmental Leaders, Links Incorporated, Western Reserve chapter, the Case Western Reserve University Clinical and Translational Science Collaborative. Did I get that right? That was okay. There's a lot. City Fresh and Healthy Eating and Active Living Initiative. Please join me in thanking those really important community organizations that helped us out with this. Um, it is now my pleasure to introduce our very, very good friend, Tim Tramble, President and CEO of the St. Luke's Foundation, for a few words.
Thank you all. Thank you all. So, as the saying goes, we are what we eat. Our diet is a prime determinant of our health. Today, we are proud to hear voices of the community who are selfless in creating access to and building awareness of healthy foods, healthy environments, and healthy lifestyles. You got it? Okay. All right. Okay, you good? All right. So the St. Luke Foundation commend Kimon Durbin and the rest of the Riddall team and Kim Foreman and her team who has changed the landscape for healthy living in Black and Brown communities of Cleveland. We know these remarkable stories firsthand, and there is nothing else like them in the entire country. We acknowledge the value of Sherry Bell Wheeler and people like her who take ownership of vacant lots in their community to serve as examples for how we can use our natural resources to turn neighborhood liabilities into assets of the community that help nurture good health. We thank our hosts, Pastor Clarence Hall and Morning Star Baptist Church, for being an extraordinary community partner. Finally, we want to thank Dan Malthorpe and his team for partnering with us to bring City Club to the community. Dan, we are truly thankful for the inclusive direction you have taken the City Club. Thank
Uh, Up next is our very good friend Julian Kahn. I'm not exactly sure what he's going to say, but I know I got to adjust the microphone upwards.
Good evening, good people. All right, all right. Being a rap fan that I am, I love freestyling. But tonight, I actually want to honor this forum by really writing something from my heart. Today, I stand before you to discuss an issue that is very close to my heart: food access in Cleveland, Ohio's Buckeye neighborhood. The community in this beautiful neighborhood is one with a vibrant culture, rich history, unwavering resilience, and is also one that grapples with the harsh realities of food insecurity. It's a bitter irony that in a country of plenty and in a state known for its vast agricultural resources, thousands of our neighbors in the Buckeye area struggle to access healthy, nutritious food on a daily basis. That is not a problem of supply, but a problem of access. The area, like many urban communities, is victim to what many commonly refer to as food apartheid, a term coined to describe racial food access disparities created and perpetuated by historical patterns of structural racism. The aforementioned racial and socioeconomic inequalities in access to healthy food result from discriminatory policies and practices embedded deeply in the food system and broader U.S. society. For instance, in local zoning policies that limit urban farming and lasting economic and social impacts of historic redlining by mortgage and insurance companies, or the abrupt departure of banks like our Huntington Bank here in Buckeye, or in our federal subsidy and loan programs that mediate access to farm capital. Lack of access to nutritious food also has dire effects on the health of our residents, from diabetes to heart disease to cognitive development of our children. The implications are far reaching and severe. It is a burden that no community should have to bear, and it is a burden that we as caring neighbors can no longer ignore. However, it is not my intention today to merely highlight the struggle. Rather, it is to focus on the assets of the Buckeye community and how we can leverage these to transform our neighborhood into a place of choice, a vibrant community filled with resources and opportunity for all. Asset-based community development, or ABCD, which I credit to my neighbor Up family for really indoctrinating and teaching me, is a strategy for sustainable community-driven development. Instead of focusing solely on a community's needs, deficits, and problems, the ABCD approach brings the attention to the community's resources, skills, and capacities to make the community stronger and more sustainable. So, what are our assets in Buckeye? We have a rich cultural heritage, a committed population, a plethora of local organizations like our Buckeye Healthy Eating and Active Living organization, and businesses, and a wealth of untapped human potential. It's about time we harness these assets and unlock the full potential of our greater neighborhood. First, we can utilize our existing social infrastructure, our community organizations, schools, churches, and local businesses to create partnerships with farmers markets like the one at the Northeast, like North Union's Farmers Market in Shakersport, and food banks to bring fresh produce into the most vulnerable parts of the neighborhood. Second, we can build residential power by providing education and resources to start community gardens, creating not only a source of fresh local produce, but also a sense of communal pride and ownership. Urban agriculture is not a new concept, but it is a powerful. It not only addresses food access, but it also community building and economic development. Thirdly, we can advocate for better transit access to quality grocery stores or lobby for new stores to be built within our community. This will not only provide better food access, but stimulate local economy by creating jobs. Finally, we can invest in our people. Let's build programs that teach our youngest about nutrition and the importance of healthy eating. Let's provide resources for our adults to learn cooking skills and understand how to make nutritious choices on a budget. The road to a food secure Buckeye neighborhood is not a short one, but it is a journey that we must embark on together. Every step taken towards improving access to healthy food, um, access to healthy food is a step towards creating a healthier, stronger, and more vibrant community. Remember that Buckeye is not defined by its struggles, but by its strength, resilience, and the rich potential of its people. Let us leverage these strengths, build on our assets, and work towards creating a neighborhood that is not just a place to live, but a neighborhood of choice filled with resources and opportunities for all. Neighborhood.
Um, Julian, your words reminded me a little bit of the creed of the City Club, and there's a line in the creed that says that the City Club is a cross section of the community, strong in their strength. So thank you for those words. I understand too that some of you may not be familiar with City Club at all, and if you're not, if you'd like to learn more, you can visit us at cityclub.org, or if you scan the QR code on the back, you can learn more about us as well. Now, it's my honor and privilege and pleasure to welcome to his pulpit Pastor Hall to deliver the introduction for our forum today.
First of all, thank you, Dan, for that wonderful introduction. And yes, this is my pulpit. And good afternoon to all of you, and we welcome you to the City Club of Cleveland, where we're devoted to conversations of consequence that help democracy to thrive. Today is Wednesday, November 29th, and I'm the Reverend Clarence W. Hall Jr., Senior Pastor right here at Morning Star Baptist Church. And it is my pleasure to welcome each one of you here today to Morning Star, as well as to introduce this evening's forum that's being held in partnership with St. Luke's Foundation, discussing food justice in Cleveland. Since 2022, hunger and food insecurity has worsened among households. As a matter of fact, with 1 in 8 houses struggling to put food on their tables, many have been going without any necessities in their life in order to be able to try to, what they can, to put food on the table. When you add this to the rising cost of living and inflation that has put basic necessities like nutrition out of the reach of even more families. We all heard food deserts, but tonight we re-examine this phrase and instead consider the impacts of food apartheid. Food apartheid is a segregationalist system that divides those with access to nutritional food from those who are denied that very same access due to systematic injustice. This scarcity of affordable and nutritious food has a tremendous negative impact on our community's health and well-being. To move forward, we require a comprehensive solution that addresses all of these impacts in our community. Local leaders right here in the city of Cleveland are making great strides to combat this food injustice. And tonight, we get to hear from some of these individuals doing this all important work. Joining us on stage today is Kim Foreman, the Executive Director of Environmental Health Watch. We have Kima Durden, co-founder of Ridall Green Partnership. And then we have Shirley Bell Wheeler, an urban farmer at Revolutionary Love Urban Farm. Moderating the conversation is Marilyn Harris Taylor, Director of Journalism at Idea Stream Public Media. If you have any questions today for any of our speakers, you can simply text those questions to 330-541-5794. Again, that's 330-541-5794. And a City Club staff member will do their best to work it into the second half of the program. Members,
and friends of the City Club of Cleveland, please put your hands together now and join me in welcoming our esteemed guest here today.
Thank you, Pastor. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much for welcoming us to your house. I'm Marlene Harris Taylor with Idea Stream Public Media, and I'm so honored to be here this evening and to be on the stage with this esteemed panel to talk about this very important topic. Now, the pastor laid out the state of hunger, of desperation of people in our community, but we all know, you know, judging by the folks on this panel, that there is progress being made. So I want to start by asking our panelists to talk about where we are, what their assessment is on the current state of food inequity in our community. We're going to start with you, Shirley, since you're right here to my left.
Hi, everybody. As I look at the people sitting on the panel here with me, as I look out in the audience,
You want to hold that a little closer to
I'm
your mic. There you
sorry.
go.
As I look at out in the audience, and I look as the people sitting next to me, I think of a word that I've heard more this last year than ever before. I think about synergy. So I think about how we have had changes in the role of the new administration. I think about how there's so many platforms where I'm meeting all of these new people and I'm able to glean this knowledge and information. I'm able to get mentorship and I'm able to be a mentor and I'm able to collectively build on what we have within our own community. So I would say the state of where we are right now is exciting. As we look back, we see there's a little pressure of why we need what we need right now, but I see hope in the
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hope.
hope.
That's awesome, right? So, Kima, what's your assessment on that question of the state of where we are now in terms of food inequity in the
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Keymont Durden. I am one of the co-founders of the Red All Green Partnership, located in the Kinsman area. Um, when I think about food access and food security, it reminds me of the idea that food is the longest relationship you'll have in your lifetime. You know, you may break up with a spouse or get mad at your brother or sister. I ain't gonna talk to you no more, but you're gonna have to engage food every day to survive.
Gotta eat.
Gotta eat. So we just believe that if you can make that relationship a good relationship, it can increase the quality of your life. That's really where the rubber meets the road is quality of life. I think we all want to be healthy. We all want to live a long, prosperous life, and food is the gateway to that. And having access to fresh and healthy food is a gateway. The phenomena of buying your food from the same place that you buy your lottery tickets, cigarettes, and beer is a new phenomenon in America. The mini mart syndrome. You know, there was a time when there was a clear distinction between the grocery store and the gas station. Not as much now. And we just believe that we need to draw that line again. Say, here's where you get fresh food. Here's where you get your gasoline. And because they both you need gas to make your car go. You need food to make your body go. But the quality is not there. You won't have it. So I would frame it like that.
So you're saying right now we don't have that separation yet.
We do not.
We're still having some people buy food with same people buy gas.
They do, and I've been hearing this new term, food apartheid, and I think it's appropriate. And the transition from that word to food, the terminology previously was food desert, and why the language was changed because the desert is a natural occurring phenomenon. It happens when you don't get enough water, you don't get enough wind, and then a desertification occurs. But a food where there's lack of food is not a natural occurring phenomenon. So the definition in itself had to change, and that's why I'm liking the new language for apartheid because the desert didn't make sense because it was not a natural occurring phenomenon.
I like that. I want to get into that discussion about food desert versus food apartheid, but I want to give Kim the opportunity to answer our opening question first. So, Kim, you've been out here in the trenches a long time. What do you think the current state is?
Well, I guess I still reflect on you raised the conversation from just gardens, regards to a social justice framework with race, food, and justice. That was in 2012 or something, 12, 13. And to really get people to think about systems, not programmatic, because you can't have a sustainable solution that's not systems focused. And we know race plays a big part in how things are constructed in our system across the board, right? And so we isolate these issues. We really need to be thinking about race and systems change and policy. So I think a lot of energy is around equity, right? So then what does that look like on the ground? Because the system is still raggedy, right? So I think now there's opportunity though. There's people in communities that have been committed for decades. We want to make that commitment equal of value, right? So now the federal government has the billions of dollars. It's a lot to get your head wrapped around. And I've been working on articulate the best I can, but it's been difficult. Julian knows it's been difficult. Articulate this big, big opportunity that the federal government is pouring billions of dollars into communities across the country. And the money is really for environmental justice and disinvesting communities and frontline organizations, right? And so now we have an opportunity to have the systems change because we have the actual resources to make those changes. And so what we're doing is we've established a regional technical assistance center, and we are working collaboratively in the region to then draw the funds down, get the funds to the right hands, vet the organizations, and make sure it's not a money grab, right? Because that money is really for the folks who have been impacted the most by the disinvestment. And when I say an example is there's on my desk up to 20 to $30 million for a project, not spread across the country for one opportunity. And this is going to cut across every department at the federal government. So we're here to build your capacity, connect you to the dollars, help you get the money because then we can, as long as we focus on the systems change work, right, and bring the right resources to match it up, that can sustain over time. And it's not a small 2-year programmatic fix. It's kind of thinking about how to take that investment, which is not going to happen again, and turn it over into sustainable solutions.
But talk about an awesome program and thinking about changing systems. That's something that we've all been talking about in this community for years. So to hear that there's some dollars coming our way that may actually make that achievable is exciting. I can imagine we're going to get a bunch of questions about that when we get to the Q&A segment of the program. But when you talk about systems, that's sort of what we were getting at with this conversation about apartheid versus deserts, right? So, Kima, you mentioned that we're changing that language and you like it. But what I'm wondering is, are we saying that it was the apartheid was purposeful, or the apartheid happened because of certain factors that just were out of people's control?
It was very purposeful, and big ag, big business, it's, dollars and cents drive decision making. And so in the inner city communities where the larger big box stores were not financially profitable, they pulled them out. And in other more affluent communities where you had Whole Foods and those type of stores, they popped up and they flourished. So it was business driven, based on the dollars and cents of the projects.
So we're talking about like when grocery stores close,
Correct.
when Dave's pulls
Correct.
out of
Right.
Colorado, for
Yeah,
example.
these are financial decisions. They're not based on the needs of the community. And we get that. And that's why we understand that the system in itself is in need of repair. And I think that's why we're here. That's what we've committed our life work to, is trying to repair the system. But there's a converse to that, because there's some quotes that have been made that if you can't repair a system, replace it with something better. And I think that our work that we've committed to is in that cycle harmony with that.
And Kim, you made an interesting comment earlier today when we were talking on the Sound of Ideas. You said there's another reason to change the language and not talk about deserts versus apartheid. You mind talking about that?
I guess the implication of desert is nothing there, right? And so we know for sure there's life in community, there's commitment, there's people. And so what we've been doing and working towards is making sure we lift the voice of the lived experience because a lot of folks are doing work to change, to do the system change work or work in their communities. And when you talk about communities as if it's only about numbers or data, but what's wrong with it, it's like leave behind the idea that is actual life and there's something to lift up and celebrate and then support, right? So we know the story, we know the stories and around health and all that, not to discount that, but there's another side to it, and having a more optimistic view about the possibilities of what can happen, but you have to include the folks who are impacted by that, right? And so we really want to create these processes, and I'm a facilitator. I don't know nothing, but hope or whatever I can try to grow. But I mean,
You said you grow hope?
I grow hope.
Okay, I love that.
But but creating spaces that are real. Equity is about honesty. It's not about what you write on a piece of paper. So it's like the people with those lived experiences need to be part of the process from inception to execution, not in the middle of it, not to have a community meeting. This is a relationship, and we're doing that with the food co-op group. It's centered around the people who live in that community, right? And we make sure that that table is balanced. And it's been years. They have been working for years on the idea around an ownership model with money, without money. The commitment is there, and that's the kind of stuff that we need to really talk about because people will participate and show up every 2 weeks for years to make sure that they're participating in the change and also connecting that program to policy um, with everyone at the table, with decision makers and residents, month after month after month. So that does create some small policy changes with the institutions. So that's what I mean by let's not just talk about what's wrong. Let's look at other opportunities. And that's why I said it's a different perspective from the desert conversation because it does sound like it's nothing.
Like it's nothing. Well, apartheid kind of applies to that it's something that's being imposed on you. But I know that we do have these areas of hope, and Shirley, you're one of them. Shirley Bill Wheeler. Let's talk about your urban farm and how you have, taken the reins to build something that is providing hope in the community.
So I live within walking distance of my farm. If anybody is familiar with the area of where my home is or where the farm is, there was a narrative as we were impacted by trauma. So as we think about the lot of things, a lot of experiences that we may go through in our communities, to have that idea of hope that you talk about, growing hope, to address healing, to create a safe space, to just walk down the street and then just see this oasis of green space and flowers, healing aspects of nature, and just the healing aspect of being able to know where your food comes from and having just the joy in growing is so important to us. Hope is an important thing. So I just really feel blessed to be able to. I in a recent conversation with another grower, he spoke about the fact that we are lucky to be able to have soil that is able to be cultivated. And I never thought about that, how lucky and how blessed we are to be able to live in a place that is able to be cultivated, soil that's able to grow good stuff. But also we have a community that is cultivated. We have good ground here in the people that we have, and we're able to build upon that hope and build upon that synergy and build upon holding institutions and people accountable and move in the direction that we need to go.
Let's talk a little bit. Can you tell us about how you came up with the idea for the Revolutionary Love Urban Farm?
Oh, okay. So Julia mentioned Neighbor Up earlier. So I was was at Harvey Rice Elementary, the library, and it was recently in our grocery store. So I have a nonprofit organization, it's Elements of Internal Movement. It uses the arts to impact the community. So my framework was be about arts and healing and community and holistic health. But as I was going to these meetings, everybody was concerned about the basic necessity of food. You look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can't reach this high level of transformation if you don't have your basic needs met. So I said, well, I guess we're growing. Let's get some food going. My family is from the South, so we grew up growing the basic crops, Thanksgiving and collards, and you wait till the frost comes, just all the joy of all of that.
Did
So
you just start with a little plot? How'd you
we
start?
started on one parcel with 3 boxes. Now we are 7 parcels on the 123rd Imperial.
And you also, you're very invested in helping people heal through art.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a bit?
Well, my undergrad is education. My master's is clinical mental health counseling. So I am a counselor by nature. I'm a healer and an educator. So art, the way that you're able to express yourself, the way that you're able to communicate things that maybe are too traumatic to discuss, or maybe you don't have the words to express, but you can put it in your art, is very important to me. So as we work with family, as we work with children, as we work with everybody, to be able to give them the tools to express what they feel internally, and what better place to do it but out in the green space? What place is more healing than being in nature and creating art?
That's beautiful. So just one more question before I move on. So you've been in this space growing your urban farm for a while. What are some lessons that you can share with the folks in the audience who might be thinking about doing the same thing?
What is your why? Why are you getting into it? Because if you're not solidified in your why, I don't know what is going to sustain you, because it's not an easy thing. Growing anything, growing a child, growing a farm, growing anything is not easy. And if you're not really grounded in what your why is, on the days when you're crying, on the days when it's just you, on the days when the deers came and ate all your collards.
I think we can all relate to that.
whatever things come up, if you're not solidified in your why, you're not going to have the substance to push through. So be clear about what your why is, and write the vision and make it plain. And have non-negotiables as you partner with different organizations, as you partner with different institutions, as you partner with the city, whoever you're connected with. Be clear about who you are and why you're that way, and what are your non-negotiables. And in that way, you can collaboratively work with somebody, because I have clear boundaries. But we can work together, but I have my clear boundaries.
So Kima, I'm going to ask you that same question. Your Goodall Green Partnership, you guys have been doing this for how many years now?
13.
13 years. So I know that you have a lot of wisdom to share with this group on how to get started, some of the lessons, some of the things you wish you had done differently along the way.
First, I want to thank my brother and friend, Brother Tim Tramble, for helping us get started in what was called the Forgotten Triangle. Now it's called the Urban Agricultural Innovation Zone, right? Come on. I mean, that's a woo!
I'm giving you the snaps. I'm giving you the snaps.
And I can't thank him enough. And Brother Julian, who's been a long-time friend and supporter of all this work. And I sort of fault him for me being here, because he nominated me to be up here today. But I think I would take your question and pose a counter question and ask the audience to think about, how did we get here? Why are we even having this conversation? When we are what's said is the most intellectually evolved entities on the planet versus animal life. But in the animal world, they eat enough, they kill enough, it's enough for everybody. I mean, they dispose of their waste. There's no what do you call it? Landfills for animals. They don't have a landfill. How do we get here? Because until we understand how we got here, we're not gonna really know how to get out of it. So we'll just keep doing the same thing. For those that come from particularly African American background through the South, we all knew how to farm. At least our grandparents or great grandparents, at some point, agriculture was a major part of our existence. And how did we lose that? And what was the cost that we paid to give that up? We gave up fresh food for TV dinners, right? So it was all, again, it was driven by marketing, advertising, the push for dollars, the mass selling of consumer items. All of those things took us away from the source of our strength, which was the land. And the land has always been our greatest connection because that's what we came from. And so now as we look back, we find ourselves in this quagmire about, man, we gonna eat at, in some writings they say the sparrow don't have to worry about where he's gonna get his next meal. The deer, the rat, like you say, the deers, they're gonna eat up our gardens. They're gonna find some food. But we as this intelligent, elevated human species figured this out. And I think we sold our souls for something because we live in a throwaway environment. It's cheaper to buy a new one than to fix it. This cheap commercial produced environment now that has spilled itself over into the food system. And believe me, it's needed because we got to feed the world. But the way it's being done, it's probably not the best model. And if we're willing to be brave enough to think outside the box, maybe another way we can do it than how it's being done. So the example I would give in the European model, most European cultures don't shop for the whole week. They shop every other day because they can go to a local market and get fresh food just enough for a couple of days, and they go back for a couple of days because they have access to fresh food. Part of our story is that because we grew up, or our great-grandparents or great-grandparents grew up in the Depression era, the idea of hoarding food became almost a mainstay. So raise your hand if you got a mother or a grandmother or great-grandmother with a white freezer full of food, right? That ain't been eaten in like 30 years. You could probably take one of them chickens and hit somebody in the head with it's frozen so hard you couldn't even eat it no more. But because that was born out of I want to make sure I have enough for my family, right? And that carried over into this whole idea of now I want to, the idea if somebody came to your home and you didn't have any food in your refrigerator, they say you poor or you ain't got no money. But that might have been the best way. They say I don't need food for 8 days in my refrigerator. All I need is enough food for 2 or 3 days, and I'll go back and get some more fresh food. And then so what we've done at Ritall is we've tried to take this knowledge because most studies say that if a trade or a skill is not passed on within 10 years, it's lost. So we said, how do we re-energize the youth to get excited about farming again? Because, when we came and began to talk about farming, most of us at that time had come either 40, late 40s, early 50s, some approaching 60. We were like, we got to give this back to another generation so they could carry it on. What good would it be? What good would it be to build an 18-acre site, and then if one of us, God forbid, if something happened to one of us, it just goes away? We have to have intergenerational wealth, which is great food, to pass that down to.
You need a plan for sustainability. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
even
But can we
succession
back
plan.
up for a moment though and talk about how you built this 18 acres?
Well, this is the story. This is it. It was born out of a need. They say, nature abhors a vacuum. So if there's an empty hole, nature's gonna fill it with something. And there was an empty hole in the community. And Brother Tim had plans for the community that we're in many years ago for a tree nursery. And when we approached him and we talked about doing this, the city got involved and said, "Hey, if you guys can do it, do it." And it was in a very tough neighborhood at that time, Garden Valley.
Was the land all cleared out already?
Absolutely not.
So how did you go about that?
It was filled with trash. It was one of the most notorious dump grounds in the city of Cleveland. When we came on, there were 50-foot pile high of trash, where individuals, instead of they were doing a demo of a house, they would just dump the trash in the street as opposed to taking it to a dump and paying money for it. And we still fight against that today. But it was born out of this desire. So partner and friend Damien Forche, rest in peace today, is the celebration of life for him. He passed 5 years ago today, so it's bittersweet. But he was an exterminator in public housing, one of the longest minority exterminators in public housing. Worked environmental health watch for many years, Stu and Kim. And after going into the unit, so there's a saying in public housing that there are only two groups that's allowed inside the projects. That's the mailman and the exterminator. Everybody else is just driving by. But to go inside the units, and when he went inside the units, he was so touched by the diet of the children. You know, they were eating barbecue Cheetos for breakfast or now laters or if anything. And he said we had to do something. And our answer was, let's do Ridall. And so, you know, Ridall, people always say, where'd you get that crazy name from? You know, but it came from an exterminating company, Ridall. And we changed the name to an acronym to mean redeem, integrity, and determination for all mankind. Because like Kim said, we're growing hope, we're growing people, we're growing lives, we're growing community. And that's our whole mantra is
So what was it
transformation.
like in those early days when you were getting started?
It was difficult. It was difficult, but we have a phenomenal team at Ridall. Damien, Randy McShepard, myself, many of the others, we all grew up together from 5 years old. So we already had a very close relationship throughout all of our entire lives. So we came into this work with instinct for each other. So there was no competing for jockeying for position. I'm in charge, do this, that. We all knew what we could do, and we all exercised our superpowers very wisely, and it allowed us to grow.
So you started on this land, it needed to be cleared out with so much stuff on it, and you managed to do that. So describe for the folks who are not familiar with the farm, what's all there today. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, it is. It's so our main focus is training and education. We believe that people need to understand why to make the health choices that they make. You know, why choose a tomato that costs, you know, $2.99 a pound versus a Big Mac that's 50 cents, right? You can get 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, you know, for 99 cents.
Some of us remember that
Right,
commercial.
right. Versus, you know, a tomato or apple that may cost $1.99 a pound. But we believe at Ridall that all of us in the audience, we want the best. It's do you have access to it and can you afford it?
And you have a greenhouse on the site, right?
Yes, we have 8 greenhouses. We have a full-scale tilapia production facility where we grow up to 80,000 tilapia fish that we breed. We have a tree nursery now. We are a Class 2 compost facility where we bring in up to 40 to 50,000 pounds of food waste every week that we turn into our nutritional black gold soil. We have our youth programming. Our youth program is really doing well. We just built out a oxygen dome that the youth put together. It's so exciting because, you know, they say each generation should do better than their parents. And now our youth is really taking that mantra on and really taking greenhousing to the next level. So
And I understand you're a model for the country. Like people come here from other cities to visit your site.
yeah, we get about 5,000, somewhere between maybe 2,000 to 3,000 people to our farm on a monthly basis. And then on top of that, we also operate an indoor produce market called Farmer Jones Market at Maple Heights, where we're able to take all of the produce that we grow and bring it to our market that's now we're making for sale. And that was an interesting story because really quickly, the mayor of Maple Heights approached us and said, you know, the owner had been there for 60 years. He decided to close and retire, and it left just a big hole in the community. Like, oh, no, don't close Farmer Jones. Everybody knows Farmer Jones. And she said, can we take it over? And we were like, well, we don't got 200,000 sitting right now just to buy it, you know, so I had to decline. She said, all right, I'll find somebody to buy it if you guys run it. So the owner came and said, here's the keys. It's like a car. Take it for a test drive. If you keep the keys, I know you want it. If you don't, after a month or two, give them back we'll go our separate ways. And 4 years later, we still got the key, we're still driving. So
That's
we were
awesome.
actually, yes,
That is
yes,
so
yes.
impressive.
And
So impressive.
and were awarded Maple Heights Business of the Year award this year. So that was a great blessing.
That's great. We're about to begin the audience Q&A. I just want to remind folks who's up here on the panel, I'm Marlene Harris Taylor, Director of Engaged Journalism at IdeaStream Public Media. For our live stream audience and those just joining us, we're discussing the work being done around food justice. Joining us, Kim Foreman, Executive Director of Environmental Health Watch, Kima Durden, co-founder of Ridall Green Partnership, and Shirley Bell Wheeler, an urban farmer at Revolutionary Love Urban Farm. We welcome questions from everyone, City Club members, students, community members, and those of us joining via our live stream at cityclub.org. We're ready for questions now. Can we have the first question?
Hi, this is wonderful. My name is Merle Johnson. I taught school 40 years in Cleveland, so I always want to know about the youth. And I was so excited to hear that you have the youth involved in the Ridall program. I still have like two questions. Where do they come from? How do they get involved? And my second question is, do you go into schools and teach young people about what you're doing?
Yes, we do. We have two youth groups. One is young adults, probably from 18 to 25. That's one group. And 18 and below, which are like more like students. So the majority of people that come, they come to our farm site. We believe that it's more engaging for them to see, for them to get out of the school building and really see something different. And the beautiful point is that most of the schools is in their neighborhood. It's in walking distance. So when we first got started, we were getting a lot of requests for tours from your Hathaway Browns and your university schools, a lot of the private schools, and not many from the public school. And we want to say, hey, what's going on? We're all public school graduates, products of Cleveland Public Schools. And then the local schools started to come. And it's one takeaway that I'll never forget that a child said to me one day that touched me to my heart. He had said that, he said, sir, I've never been to a field trip where the owners looked like me. And I said, wow, to this very day, that still touches me so much because it gave him another idea of what's possible. That you don't just have to be an employee, you could be an owner, you could run your own business, you could have your own things, you can do good. And then secondly, many of them, we brought one year, we brought every third grader from Cleveland schools to the farm over the course of a year. When they came, we said, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? A basketball player, a rapper, all of these, things, and by the time they left, they said, I want to be a biologist. I want to be a zoologist. I want to learn about trees. I want to be an arborist. It was like so touching because that's the work. Because see, in today's society, and I promise not to be long, but in
You have a lot of
today's
those lined up
society,
for questions out here.
everything is measured by the data, by the matrix. How many people did you serve? How many did this? But there's so many other ways of measuring it. It doesn't have monetary association. How do you measure a smile? How do you measure a thank you? How do you measure a hug? And those are the things that we do. So thank you.
Those things are invaluable. Now, I did neglect to mention that we are taking text questions as well for our speakers. So if you want to text, the number is 330-541-5794. That's 330-541-5794, and we will do our best to work it in. So we are ready for the next question.
Thank you all for your wonderful work and your comments. And Kim, I have a question for you. I was very excited to hear, what you're talking about, systematic change and all of the federal funds coming in. And I guess my just basic question is, there's going to be an election coming up very soon. And if there is a change at the White House, will there be a change in those dollars coming to the community?
So I've been traveling to learn a lot more about this, connecting with folks connected to the federal government to make sure that we're solid and grounded in opportunities. I have not heard at this point. We're launching our regional, it's called the Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Centers, where the money is flowing through. We're launching a regional TIC-TAC February, right? And so work with this work and these partners and everything else. We want to make sure we ask that question because it is critical. But
Kim, may I ask what is regional tic-tac?
well, here we go. So I'm trying to. So once again, government is setting up EPA specifically and Department of are the first funds in to set up these technical assistance centers across. So we
Oh, is
have
that what tic-tac stands for?
yes, Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Center. So we are a group of 5 lead organizations partner with Black Green for Region 5, 6 states that we will be the leads to cultivate and build capacity to the money. But there's also 2 national tic tacs, and then there's money from intermediaries that'll get money to get us, right? So it's this whole system being put together over the next year to make sure we have a system, mechanism, right? I have not heard that at this point around system money drying up, but there is this very urgent situation where the money has to be deployed
So
over the
it's been
next 3 years.
appropriated. The money has been
Oh, it's
appropriated.
here.
It's here already.
It's
So
an
a new
urgency to it.
administration wouldn't be able
That's
to
not
pull it
no,
back in.
these are at the department level, but Biden had billions to be.
Wonderful news. Next question.
Uh, Good evening, everyone. My name is Dinah George. I'm a guest lecturer at Oberlin College, actually, and I teach things about food justice. So thank you for having this panel. Um, my question, my question is, what is the process or thinking around partnerships outside of Cleveland to build out your mission, food justice, food apartheid, and systems change? And my other question is specifically for Ridal. I was told that there's a training program. Who do I get in contact with in order to enroll in the program? 'Cause I think it's coming up next year, something like that.
Yes, second question first. I can give you my direct contact information for the training class. It is on our website, ridall.org. Does start in January. It's our traditional 5-month training program. It runs the second week of every month for 5 months from January through May. Registration is now open. So you're more than welcome to register for that. If you get in, there are some scholarships available through local funders that have supported our work. So the sooner the better that you can get registered, the better. And, what was your first question?
Yeah, I think I want to lift up the idea around the partnership across the country because we've been working for a long time, and so when we lifted up our race, food, and justice, intentionally we brought partners from across the country that did research, that worked on land acquisitions, that worked on climate. Malika King at the time in Detroit was dealing with land grab situation. We brought him in. We brought Will Allen in. That actually helped Real figure out what they were doing. Dara Cooper, many folks, because the narrative is almost as if we can't find experts around this topic. So what we did was we created a conference. I've been with Damien since I was in high school. So me, Damien, and Dr. Rhonda from Social Justice Institute at Kate was like, okay, we're trying to have a conference. So that's what we did. We pulled all of these black leaders from across the country that worked on food and brought them to Cleveland, and we meshed them up with our local experts because collaboration, partnership is extremely important. So what doing that really got people to think differently about how they do business, how they work in the community, and inspired folks who were trying to do work, right? So that was a multi-sector audience from students to funders to organizations, institutions, academia, and everything else. And we had those conferences from 2013 to 2018. So, and we still maintain a lot of those relationships to today. And this collaborative for a decade. and it's very important. Your partners are extremely important. No one can do this work alone.
It's so wonderful to hear about this collaboration because so often, people say about Cleveland that folks are working in silos, don't know what other people are doing. But it sounds like we have some real partnerships and collaborations in this food justice space.
All this my plan. I'll do everything. I'll be like, I want to do this. They're like, okay. So we're gonna launch a lot of and programs from the farm space and brought people to the farm and introduced them to what we just back up. So partner collaborated from the dumping issue to Fresh Fest now, right? So we've been partnering, building, and scaling for decades.
Oh, you mentioned Fresh Fest. That's really a wonderful event. Can you just, before we go to the next question, can you just talk about it a little bit in case people are not familiar?
Yeah, so over these years, we've been doing all these different things, trying out from cooking class, leadership stuff, and health and wellness. But Fresh Fest, it was a culmination of a national brand. We got emerging food, arts, and culture, and so we really thought about what's the narrative, as Kima said, about this community, and is it time to bring more culture and art kind of into the space? And it's extremely important. It's Black in the community. So we really were intentional about bringing Black entrepreneurs, food entrepreneurs, retail entrepreneurs to a space, festival of scale that everybody from all over participate, but also support entrepreneurship. We do food demos. We talk about we have a farmers market. So we integrated all these ideas we had over the years into that space to scale it so they can make money. So there's no social service. We don't need to tell poor people they poor. And we make sure that we are intentional about bringing people together and not making money off them. We want them to
That's great.
make money.
When does that happen? So we can look forward to it?
The second Saturday of September 14th, and we bring national artists to the community, and we have fun.
Okay. We have to wait till next year, I guess. Okay, our next question, please.
Hi, thank you so much for your commitment. I'm Jeremy from the East Side. I love Fresh Fest. You guys have done a great job. There's a lot of zero waste projects in the community. My compost, riders drop off bins, and Food Not Bombs has shares every week where they get donations from Westside Market and bakeries and make sure that food gets distributed instead of wasted. This year being a farm bill cycle with you could pass something that'll be in place for 5 years. Do you think any of the legislations have a chance? I know our representative Chantel Brown has further incentives for nutritious donations bill. And there's also the Hunger Network supports incentivizing food donations. So if you guys could talk about getting businesses to donate more.
Okay. Did you want to take that one?
Yeah, I could jump in. We also work very closely with our family and friends. The Dan team at Spell Riders, we're actually those guys, compost facility. And the challenge is a couple of challenges, particularly the recycling program. It really starts at the local level. The cities have to buy in to create a recycling program, which Cleveland does have a fledgling recycling program, which is going okay. But again, there's an educational component to it because what to put in what bin, people get a little confused, and there's some separation issues there. But the value is there. And challenge recycling and composting is that if we took in all of the food waste that's available in the city of Cleveland, both residential and commercial, there's not a large enough market to consume the end product. So we need more people to buy the compost. We could make, 800 cubic yards of compost, but if we don't have a market to buy the 800 yards of cubic of compost, then there's tweaks that need to be done to the business. So you make a great point. Cleveland is really in the forefront of some of that. We're in a partnership with Rust Belt with the Westside Market, collecting food waste there. We have eight acres that we dedicated just for food waste and composting. So it's very, very lucrative. Right now, we're introducing a new product called biochar that's added to compost to really take up the nutritional value and the moisture content of soil. So we're on the cutting edge of it. We're actually in a 5-city USDA grant dealing with biochar. So we're on the front edge of it, working with Rust Belt and a lot of work to still be done.
So glad to hear that different cities are working together too. Shirley, have you gotten into that space at all? Composting?
So I get into it in a different aspect, in educating. You spoke about educating our youth, educating our young people. As we have our summer program with teenagers, workforce development, and as we work with schools or we work with young people elementary school age, just the basics of what composting is, the basics of why it's important, and just the basic understanding of what decay is and why that's important to the ecosystem and why that helps the nutrients of the food that we eat. So,
So how many youth do you have in your program?
so during the summertime, we usually do about 30 youth during the summertime each summer. We do programming inside of schools. We actually got our start at Juvenile Detention Center in 2013 when we really kicked off the nonprofit organization, and we're in different schools, elementary schools and high schools. If I had to put a number on it, this year, we're in 4 schools. I'm sorry, I don't have a number. I'm not gonna
Me
but
either.
we're in 4 or 5 schools, this season. So, yeah, and then we have the summer program.
That's so wonderful to hear about this focus on the next generation. Next question, please.
So I hear two words that keep coming up, right? Education and systemic. And I remember when I was in school a few years ago, you were taught how to cook, right? And one of the issues that I see, I'll stop by distribution centers, food banks, and all the meat would be gone. The greens would be gone. But all the nutritionally dense food is still there. So there is food there, right? I think the challenge is that one, we have whole generations that don't know how to cook anymore. And if they do know how to cook, I mean, when I was a kid, my mom cooked it, it tasted good. So I wanted to eat my vegetables. And you got Sister Carol, who almost turned me into a vegan because that sister can burn from non used to be 4-legged protein. So my question to the panel is, shouldn't we really be talking about getting those types of trainings, right? The trades, the cooking back into the schools, not as an extracurricular after school program, but as part of the core curriculum that our kids need to learn those skills.
Bring back home ec. Absolutely.
So as a former CMSD employee, I wanted to answer this question as somebody who has a fair amount of children. I wanted to answer this question. So yes, it's important to teach people how to cook. Carol White, she's been out to the farm. She cooks for our events. Her squash soup, amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, so I think one, we need to highlight. This is one aspect of the food system. We need to highlight all aspects of the food system because there's other people like Carol who are amazing chefs and amazing cooks. As far as getting it into schools, I think that would be a wonderful point. But before we do that, we need to have good food that they're eating. I don't want to say too much, but I mean, if you've been in the schools and seen the food that they're eating, how are they? They're not. The food isn't cooked at the school, so how would they be cooking in the classroom when the food isn't cooked in the kitchen at the school? So we first have to address that and fix the system so that as we have this produce right here, this wonderful produce, as we have Carol White, Shine Bright, and different organizations and chefs like that, that we're able to, we have the resources to feed our children good. If our children are our most vulnerable population, the most important, they are our future. And what are we feeding them? It's scary. I'm not gonna go on, but it's scary.
You're right. There was a time that they used to cook food actually at the school, but not anymore.
Just have one thing to add because part of our youth farmers leadership program and in Fresno, we created eat ethnic cooking classes from vegan and vegetarian in 2012 with Scott because people didn't know what to do with vegetables. Handing out vegetables, all these community gardens, and nobody knew what to do. So that's where that came from, but also realizing the youth. I went to East Tech, and most of the youth are families. They really wanted to participate because we were deciding on how to put this together. We had a young vegan chef who's now trying to go to med school, by the way, our program. Um, she taught them how to cook, and we taught people how to recycle vegetables. Because once again, we're working on systems change. In the meantime, you live in this food apartheid space. So how can we elevate how you shop at Save Lot? How do you shop at Aldi? And then in the cooking classes, they were working together as a community within the class, and they actually had to get their hands dirty. So we worked with King's Wife, we worked with Carol, and introducing the community to Black chefs who did not serve meat. And it was purposeful, intentional. So the youth, I'm trying to keep, I'm still building my organization. So hopefully we can build enough capacity to sustain stuff like that. Bring that because I feel like we had these models that did work. We have probably serviced over 100 people, youth and adults through these series of sessions in Will Hill and in Central Kinsman. And it was successful, but we want to have enough capacity to continue to.
And that's the story. It's like you have a great idea, a great program, but how to then you find a way to make it sustainable. Keep
One closing comment on that question is that um, but I took home ec in junior high school, and we learned how to cook home ec. And I made a tic tac toe pillow and home ec. I think it's still around the
you learned
house
how to
somewhere.
sew too. Yeah.
All the letters are off now, but that was part of the curriculum. But at the same time, they took gardening out of the schools. They took home ec out of the schools. And so that was a double prong because now the students didn't know how to grow or what to do with it when they did. So part of it is the pressure to reintroduce those skills back into the schools, and the trend has been to eliminate the vocational skills because we had auto shop, you had woodworking, you had all of those things that was once available. Now that's not available. Now we're asking our children to go to college to seek a degree. In most areas, they'll never even be able to get a job. But at least for the folks that had a trade that knew how to do something with their hands, today, if you take a query or a group of young students and ask them what a pair of pliers are, most of them may not even know or how to change a light bulb. Let me Google it real quick, and that's the mindset how society has changed. But there was a part in our history that was part of the school curriculum. You had to take home ec, and you had to take the gardening class.
Yep,
Now that's
absolutely
missing.
did.
So it had
But
an impact.
these young people, they go on YouTube. They learn a lot of stuff on
Yeah,
YouTube
oh yeah,
real
no
quick.
doubt.
Let's go on to our next question.
Hi, I'm Juliana. I want to say quick hi to Tim Campbell. We crossed paths. Um, do you remember? I rode my bike over to Burton Belcar, something Earl Pike had organized. Um, Two things I've been paying attention to for at least the past 10 years are the Ridall Farm and the Opportunity Corridor. Um, I'm concerned about that intersection because upon the completion of the Opportunity Corridor, certain powers that be proposed putting an asphalt plant on Holton Avenue, which is tracks from Ridall. So my question is, and then I quickly get out of the way, is how do you protect that region, that food enterprise region that indeed is not the Forgotten Triangle? Thank you.
Yeah, we pushed back on that big time and still are. We have stakeholders in the community that believe in that as well, that business model doesn't fit well for the urban agriculture innovation zone. This is the funniest sidebar of the opportunity corridor. When the idea first came to the community, it was like, no, it's wrong. They taking up the community. They put the freeway through the black neighborhood. And then when I found out after they built it how much time it saved me to get to work, I was like, I loved it. I thought, no, forgive me, please, for that. But it's true, but as a part of that effort, though, Kokosi Construction Company, which was the lead contractor, as part of their give back to the community, we had created Damien Forche's Damien Forche Learning Center. We converted one of our greenhouses into an indoor learning center. And the Job Corps built some very, very beautiful octagon picnic tables, 8 of them hand built. And Kokosi Construction Company came in and poured a concrete pad inside of the whole greenhouse. And so as a result of that, we're very thankful for the community input that came back as a result of that project. But again, the whole idea is, just finding a way to partner with community organizations, and finding out what works, what doesn't work, being sensitive to the needs of our community, because it's so often groups go into communities with the idea they know what the community needs without even asking the community what they want.
That is a great point, and that is a great point to end on, actually. And so this brings us to the end of our discussion, this wonderful discussion tonight. Can we have a hand for our panel? Thank you to Shirley, Kima, and Kim for joining us this evening for our conversation about food justice in Cleveland. Today's forum is part of our Health Equity Series, sponsored by St. Luke's Foundation. It's also part of our City Club and the Community Series in partnership with Bank of America. The City Club is grateful to each of these organizations for their continued support of these important community conversations. Up next for the City Club is another free forum, this time at the Happy Dog in Cleveland's Gordon Square District. The city Cleveland CFO Ahmad Abanaba and Councilman Seif will unpack what's in the city's budget, discuss how it's drafted, and what you need to know and can do as engaged citizens. Center for Community Solutions, William Carter Jr. will moderate that conversation. You can learn about these forums and others at cityclub.org. And this brings us to the end of today's forum. Thank you again to our guests. Thank you, members and friends of the City Club. I'm Marlene Harris Taylor, and this forum is now adjourned.
I think there's going to be a raffle, right? Who's got the stuff? Who's got the tickets? They're coming to us. Okay. Stand by. Very exciting moment about to happen.